Sizi Botsime. So I'm a teacher, I'm a learning support, I'm a remedial, I'm a special needs, but we need to change that. We need to change that now with the additional needs. Okay, I'm an educationist, I'm an education activist, and I'm an inclusive education enthusiast. So often Hakibua in a capacity of an inclusive education enthusiast. So in that day, we met via Facebook. Abona mosebetsi o ko etsang wa advocacy in South Africa. So I'm going to talk about inclusive education in general, because in South Africa, I'm glad that I saw policies in Lesotho. These policies are beautiful, they are well written, but now the challenge is, the policy formulator, you leave us behind as teachers at classroom. Then you come with these policies and you give us directives and say implement. You understand? So in South Africa, the challenge is that gap between the policy and the implementation. And that's very true. Inclusive education is a process. High money, they introduced the paper, White Paper 6, got 2001. And then later, 2014, they include SIAS. So SIAS is mainly to scaffold White Paper 6, make sure that there's identification, there's assessment, and then the support of children. I think I will share that, Luena. So now, as an education activist, inclusive education enthusiast, my advocacy is aligned with White Paper 6, with SIAS, somebody that alluded to SDG 4, right, which is inclusive education. So without much further ado, so I said to the teachers yesterday, go think about something. How can I get classroom? What do you think? So guy, the teaching philosophy. On that day and teaching philosophy hiking. But it's just that we are not cognizant. So because of time, I'll just jump straight. So teaching philosophy basically is what we're now as a teacher. What do you think teaching is? I was telling the teachers in South Africa, when you apply for international jobs, you have to write one page. Teaching philosophy, teaching. So, for example, myself, I'm a Maria Montessori scholar. So, Maria Montessori can play-based learning. So, Oribana, they learn best through play. So, in my classroom, I used PBL, which is play-based learning. So, I don't know if internet will be in our favor, but anyway, we'll just move. So now these are the objectives of my session. So by the end of this session, teacher will be able to understand. Teacher will be able to define what inclusive education is, which that has already alluded to. Understand the inclusive education framework, which is White Paper 6, but I'm not going to go deep into it because White Paper 6, I need a whole week to demystify it. It's a beautiful policy, together with SIAS, which I alluded. So in South Africa, the SIAS, it's a process. So it starts with screening, identification, assessment, and then support. So it happens at different levels, classroom, school level, district level. And then, I'm not going to talk about the other two. And then the gist of my presentation is, how do you approach an inclusive class, right? How do you approach an inclusive class? Because often we are told to be inclusive, right? But now, inclusive. How do you make sure that you cater for all the children in the classroom? So I'll be now. This is taken from the policy I was talking about, explaining what inclusive education is. Inclusive, according to the policy, all children and youth can learn and need support, right? Everyone can learn, but we need support. Acknowledge that learners are different and embrace their diverse learning. So everyone, they learn their own way, right? We have different ways where we can consume information, and we need to embrace them. To encourage maximum participation, uncover and minimize barriers to learning. I'll also briefly touch on the barriers to learning. Empower learners by developing individual strengths and enable participation standardization of the procedures to identify, assess, and provide programs in the other departments, other ministries, right? Ahead. For all learners who require additional support to improve their participation and inclusion in school. Moreover, to improve access to quality education, that doesn't work the schools that we have, they are not accessible. A child who is wheelchair bound, they cannot use the button because they cannot move. The space is limited or it's restricted. Okay, quality education for vulnerable learners and those who experience barriers to learning. That's what are barriers to learning. So, but before I talk about barriers to learning, I just want to take you through the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure that in a higher education, everybody has done that theory. Right? Maslow, and according to Maslow, he says that before a child can learn and develop, we need to meet their a series of needs. So we need to make sure that then if we are cognizant of those needs, then and we address those needs, then we'll be able to teach and develop that child. Now we talk about barriers to learning. Can anyone tell me what could be a barrier to learning, or what are barriers to learning according to your understanding?
It could be the factors that hinder learners to learn in the way that is expected.
That's perfect. For example,
in a situation where the school is built into stairs, and a learner who has special needs, maybe physical, will not be able to go through the stairs.
Thank you, Mewa. Right? Dademaboso is a hard of hearing, right? Hana the hearing aid. So that's a barrier to learning. No will, you are trying to control, I guess. You are trying to control these assistive devices so that they can make sure that, okay. So now, how we work at the barriers to learning? Barriers to learning refer to difficulties that arise within education system as a whole, right? The learning side or within the learner himself, which prevent access to learning and development. So basically, these barriers to learning, they can either be intrinsic or extrinsic, right? Internal and external. Sometimes they are demotivated or they have emotional issues and so forth. And then external, it could be physical because they are unable to move. Now, I alluded to this, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow says that if you don't meet, if the children's needs are not met, for example, their physiological needs, they don't have water, they don't have food, they don't have shelter. Obviously, we know, and how is that child expected to learn? And so forth. Okay, so Maslow, like I said, he's saying that before expecting students to reach their full potential, teachers need to meet students at their current level. That's very important, that you need to know your children. How many of us tell me who's wrong high? Because we have so many things to do. But Maslow says that before we expect students to reach their full potential, we need to meet the students at their current levels. He suggests that before individuals meet their full potential, they need to satisfy a series of needs. I've already said that. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs can provide teachers a reminder and framework that our students are less likely to perform at their full potential if their basic needs are unmet. We know that. If one asks how to homework, how to pass, how to a project. If you not put okay. Now these are the barriers that what are the causes of getting the barriers to learning. So using this, there could be internal, the environment of the school. So the internal could be neurological. Maybe a child has got a condition, physiological, like I said, genetic. They might have a disease. Then the environment, the socioeconomic. From South Africa, we have, I guess Lesotho, the thing ya teng rona le beilo jwang mohlomong bana hona le mo mekhukhu mo wa dulang teng ha bana di basic the basic needs like water, electricity, and so forth. And then the system as well, the way we rutang ka teng, our curriculum. Le wena as a teacher, I was telling the teachers in South Africa that the way you teach can be a barrier to learning, right? Kana go sa bo dutse fela wa ruta khotso wa bua ntso so ke mango o dutse ha o bona bona ho tsalang ka classeng o dutse fatshe ha ke re batswadi ra itseba ntwe ha o bona bona ke mang ho etsala eng o dutse the way o ruta kana go o dutse wa ruta o shebile chalkboard kana go ngono mong ha o twi hantle they lip read like ndadema voso ha ke bua o sheba milomo yaka ne then they can try to make sense of what I'm saying. Okay, so these are the causes of barriers to learning. Okay, and then I spoke about that. Sorry. Now, reading some activities, but I'll quickly go through this. Now, characteristics of reading problem. I can say it in Lesotho, but in South Africa, there's a problem. Kabanaba Fitau grade 4, their literacy. Our kids cannot read, they cannot write. And it's not like they can't, it's because of other factors as well, right? So now, how do you identify? I was telling my colleagues in South Africa that we do not diagnose bana. We are not in a position to diagnose. I'm a learning support. I can administer reading, writing, comprehension, spelling, and arithmetic. How do you administer those tests? I write a scholastic report. Let's say, for example, as a child, for instance, in my class now, I had a child who was exhibiting. That's what I'm limited to. He was exhibiting the traits of dyslexia. So I can't say he's dyslexic. I'm not in a position to diagnose. So I wrote a report saying that this child in my class is doing this and this. This is their strength, this is their weaknesses, this is what I see. Now, when my report was taken to a therapist, can either be an educational or child pediatrician, they know what assessments to perform, right? Because Barisma is a series of assessments. And then the boy was assessed and he was diagnosed of developmental dyslexia, right? Autism. I'm very passionate about autism. Even if I see that the child is ticking all the boxes for autism, I'm not in a position to say this child is on the spectrum or this child is autistic. But I can say he's exhibiting traits of autism. So the same thing, dyslexia, or dysgraphia, or dyscalculia, or dyspraxia. All those Ds. So characteristics of reading problem: slow and effortful reading, frequent reading errors. They add, they replace, they delete. Okay. Tracking difficulties. They lose place. Meonabua earlier on. So I think of foundation phase. Ba follow ka monwana. Oh, but share foundation phase bagay. Kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. Ba follow ka monwana. Reading without comprehending, so they read without understanding. Now, avoiding reading, you find excuse not to read. Okay, then characteristics of writing problems. The writing may be tight, awkward pencil grip and body position. They struggle with pencil grip. They struggle with pencil grip. Tripod, right? tribe. When I ban about grade phones, I saw a pen so. I'm not going to say, I saw a pen because I can find motor skills. That's why play is important, especially now, yeah. But they should play because it develops their muscle skills. So when I pencil grip, when I writing problem, they avoid writing or drawing tasks. You know, you have those kids when it comes to a writing task, by the time of a lesson, by the time of and you end up one seat or one thing. Inconsistent space between words and letters. I saw that with my boy. Poor understanding or uppercase and lowercase. Some kids, right? When you start a sentence, right, you start with uppercase, right? If like now no proper noun, uppercase. But some of them in between the word, they will have uppercase, lowercase, lowercase. Sorry, unable to draw in a line or within margins. My year 5, my year 5. So Monana will be, South Africa will be grade 3. Abasibun ka hula ba be ba se mola straight. That type of lona bua ka mola straight la ho plama bana. Bana ba khona ho se ya hula. Aba etsa mola. Some kids they really struggle. Some really yeah. Some kids are tiring quickly when writing, illegible writing, mixing cursive. Actually, more Lesotho if you listen is cursive. But some fella print. Okay, which is good. And then Hariako math. How do you identify math? Okay, keep in mind that all kids have trouble with math from time to time. It depends on the topic, right? Depends on the topic. Like say about basic operation. Multiplication, and the other one has to do like division and so forth. But kids with dyscalculia, dyscalculia is a math problem, and the child has to be diagnosed by either an educational psychologist or a child pediatrician. Dyscalculia isn't the same as math anxiety. When I was about math, I was one of those kids because teacher math. How long will I math exam? Right? Because they think math is difficult. So some of the characteristics, they have trouble learning to count and skip counting, struggle to understand the meaning of counting, and then lastly, they grapple to understand patterns. You know, when you sort from small to big, short and tall. Okay, so, okay, let's see. No, not this one. Now, my real presentation. Learning styles. The Utustanka learning styles, but what? What is your understanding of learning style? Huh? Multiple intelligences. The way we consume information, right? There's a guy who came up, I just forgot his name, Theoria, multiple intelligences. So now, learning styles is the way we consume information. So some of the kids, they are auditory, some of the kids, they are tactile or kinesthetic, and some of the kids are visual. So what do you do when you approach an inclusive class? You need to use what they call multi-sensory approach. Multi-sensory approach. So a multi-sensory learning approach is a term mainly school used to describe teaching method that involve engaging more than one sense at a time, involving the use of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So how do you do that? How do you do that in your planning? So let's say we have a math lesson. So we have a math lesson. I can say hi, this. I'll take it down. We have a math lesson, grade 2. Grade 2. Okay, thank you. It's fine. So a math lesson. Listen, I forgot my plate there. Can I have my plate? Yes, please. Okay, so a math lesson, grade 2, Ruta Banaka a circle, right? Ruta Banaka a circle. So now we need to use a multi-sensory approach because you want to cater for your your child that is auditory, your child that is visual, and then your child that is kinesthetic. So now here, this is what I call an anchor chart. So anchor chart can be used across all the learning areas. Okay, so it helps you to understand the word or the concept better. So you have the word in the middle, so you can see that there's a circle in the middle. Then we have the meaning of what is a circle. So it's a round figure whose boundary consists of points of equidistance from a fixed point. I think then we have synonyms, okay, round, ring, hoop, and then disc. And then how do you use it in a sentence? And then also you have a picture, right? So we can see already how many styles did I cater for more? How many styles did I cater for? So I catered for the visual, right? The visual they can see, right? And then who am I catering for? The auditory. So what about the kinesthetic? Yes, you are right, Mewak. Draw because they will remember when they touch, right? A guy draw ya moyeng, a guy draw ya fatshe, a guy draw ya le ka mmele ha re emeng re tseng sekela ke. Yes, this is kinesthetic as well because we are moving, right? So you know that you catered for all the learning style. So this is what we call multisensory approach. Given time, when we have time, we'll do other activities as well. I think we will be able to do. So you can do it kantote nga. And hadiswaki internet. Maobane, I wanted to print something. No. Because I get harena pampiri, harena ink, as a teacher, you need to be resourceful. I usually fight with teachers about language resources. You need to science. When did experiment? Did we need a lab? No. Why improvise? Improvisation is very key. Okay, now the benefits of multisensory approach. Multisensory teaching techniques and strategies stimulates learning by engaging students on multiple levels. They encourage students to use some or all their senses to gather information about a task, link information to ideas they already know, and understand, perceive the logic involved in solving problems. Solving problems, and the link that we are to tap into it. Tap into non-verbal reasoning skills. Okay, tap into non-verbal reasoning skills. Sorry about that. Understand relationship between concept, store information, and store it later to recall. So now these are some of the methods that you can use for multisensory approach. I usually, when I taught Egypt, and we're doing the Ontario curriculum. So the Ontario curriculum is very flexible, even when it comes to assessments. So when I assess my kids, I give them options. They can either do a role play, they can either do a collage, building models, do a video. The other day I was blown away when one of my kids announced a project called TikTok. It's a project like a TikTok. Narrator light and sound. They can build models or dioramas. They can have group discussions, presentation. Those kids that are auditory, rap. I don't know if you guys are familiar with America. America right now, they are using rap to teach math. Right? I don't know if renally internet, I will show you. In my class, I usually use them as a vocabulary. So if you go on the internet and look for vocabulary, you will see how they use rap music, right? Because rap is memory again. And the banabona okobone habaka balapina habedi ha ba itshwere, right? Then the third time, the lyrics is at it. So you can imagine how can content ya rona like the lyrics, right? So Hakatola Internet will see vocabulary. But even on the platform, I will share all these resources. Okay. Also debate. Kirata debate in my class, because through that you can see your children by critical thinking. I always tell teachers on now my notion, I'm of the view that we cannot teach critical thinking, but we can nurture it. We can stimulate bana, say something very controversial, and then step back and let them engage and listen to what they're saying, and you guide them. You nurture critical. You can't come to class and say, hey, Nahana critical. I want you to think critical. No, it's impossible. But you lead. Okay, why Ucho? No, chain. Okay, but so you are tapping into that. So that's how we nurture, that's how we guide critical thinking. I love presentation. Now my class is because even myself, I forgot to mention that as teachers, our learning style, it influences our pedagogy. The way we tutangate, the way we utangate. Myself, I'm a visual, tactile learner. If you come to my class, you will see these things. I always have them, and I like color because color it attracts. But if you put something plain, they're not gonna read it. But when it's colorful, it attracts them. It attracts them. So that is also part of being inclusive and using a multi-sensory approach. Okay, so now I wanted to show you some of the strategies for reading and writing. Mel Wheeler, you did an extract from a book. So what I usually do with my kids is they read a book. After reading a book, what do? You choose your favorite character. You create your character. So the book, Danny, the champion of the world. So I chose Danny as my favorite character. And then Kiangola, the name of the character is Danny. And then on this side, Kiangola, the characteristics or the traits, which is what the adjectives, I guess. And then Kamonana, I would write maybe if I could meet Danny for one day, what would I do or what would I change? This is fun, this is engaging, and it stimulates but develop the love of reading. Because often so that we can assess them, right? Enjoyment. In South Africa they introduced drop and read, something like drop everything and read. But yes, drop everything and read. They do it in the morning for like 30 minutes. So why not leave everything that they're doing and then they read? And I think it's something that that. And then the other one, the spelling. So I'll just improvise because how we teach we have to improvise. So for example, you give children like a word, like chocolate, right? And then you ask them to form as many words as they can from this using all the letters to chocolate, right? Oh. So a late, cool, because we have two O's, cool, collar, right? Eight, late already there. If it's not cold, it's cool. If it's not cold, it's hot. So HOT. So how when they are running, those that are very like low ability, you can guide them and give them like by say the antonyms, right? The antonyms. And then the other one,
Tech.
T is there.
Tech.
T. That do we say?
Tech. It's
like TAC, right? Yes. And then cat as well. Right? So kids, they love this. They love this. You put them in groups. My year fives, I used to give them like those long English words. Spelling. Okay. So the last one that we're going to do is what I call edutainment. Edutainment. What do we mean by edutainment? by edutainment, we mean that we are learning and having fun, right? Learning and having fun. So if you talk about Baswadi, if they can come, then it's a mona. So now, I'm a year grade 4 teacher. The Ruta lesson in maths, right? In maths, the topic is probability, okay? So probability we know is the likelihood of something happening, right? So as we teach topic in that just happen, we say math is language based. Before you teach the concept, you need to teach the language. So the language that we use in probability is less likely, likely, highly unlikely, and then certain. Okay? And then we can also show that in percentage that less likely is equivalent to 25%, likely 50%, highly likely 75%, and then certain is 100%. And high into the family. So now we want to challenge. I want them, so you need to follow, right? So you can see this is this is right foot, then left hand, so right foot, yes, foot. So right foot, and then this is right hand, this is left hand. So you need to move one limb at a time. So how if you move it back, then you are out. So the challenge is, I want to see if anyone can complete this. I need a timer. If anyone can complete this in 30 seconds. Because I'm wearing pants that are way too tight. So if I can go down. So we go like, so give first, if you move, if you put the foot down, if you take it up, you need to move. You can't move it back. Like chess, right? Touches move. So you start 1, 2, 2, and then one at a time. Okay? Then you go like that, like that, like that. So twister. Okay? So you go mount that there. I this. So this is during a math lesson.
The winning team.
Okay. And a key integration. This key math, key language, key happy. Habana physical education.
Yeah. Physical education.
Right? Yeah. Physical education. Okay? So anyone who wants to 30 seconds, who can complete this in 30 seconds? I'll check. And then monitoring with a data handling on your board. Maybe you write group A, group B. Okay, that wants to try. Okay. The challenge is we want to know if he will complete this within. We want to know the probability because we need to use the vocabulary, right? What is the probability of Ndate completing this challenge in 30 seconds? So we want to see if it's less likely, is it likely, is it highly likely, or is it certain? Or we can use percentages, right? At one method we say there's a 25% chance, there's a 50% chance, there's a 75% chance, or there is what? 100, right? So we know by 100 we mean it's certain. Thank you. Okay. So who's yeah. Now that I guess because in math we estimate. Okay. Now let's say estimation.
Likely. I give him likely.
Likely. Omong happy. Less likely. Okay. Omong happy.
Yeah. Certain.
Okay. Let's check. Now,
we believe in you.
The timekeeper?
We believe in you.
Right. So you must tell us when it's time. In 3, 2, 1, start.
I fail to balance.
Okay, I will send that. Okay. Then I'll palm. Okay.
The other one. Yes, Ali.
Okay. And from here, you can tell Qwaqwa was understanding the instructions, right? So you're doing your informal assessment, or okay, this one doesn't follow instruction. Then I'm going to guide ahead. Have you said Qwaqwa inclusive education? Have you? So you have to be strategic about it.
Because if you move it, you are able
and 21st century skills, right? Communication, collaboration, teamwork. So okay, so Batadi, my time is up. Thank you very much. Thank you.